Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something truly transformative, how to train your mind to overcome absolutely anything life throws at you. Before we begin, I want to share something with you. What I'm about to tell you has genuinely changed my life, and I've seen it change the lives of thousands of others. The principles we'll explore today aren't quick fixes or temporary solutions. They're timeless wisdom that, when applied consistently, will transform how you respond to challenges. So if you're tempted to skip ahead, I'd encourage you to stay with me. Every part of this journey matters, and you never know which insight might be the exact one you need right now. We all face obstacles. Some days it feels like the universe is conspiring against us. A project fails at work, a relationship ends, health problems emerge, financial stress mounts, and in those moments our minds can become our worst enemies, spiraling into patterns of anxiety, defeat, and hopelessness. But what if I told you that your mind could become your greatest ally instead? What if the very tool that sometimes works against you could be trained to help you overcome anything? The ancient Stoics understood this profound truth thousands of years ago. These philosophers weren't detached academics theorizing about life from ivory towers. They were emperors, statesmen, slaves, and ordinary citizens who developed practical wisdom for navigating life's harshest realities. As the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." These words, spoken by a man who spent his early life as a slave, carry immense weight. Despite circumstances most of us can't imagine, Epictetus found freedom through mental discipline. Today, we'll explore how to cultivate this same mental strength, not by denying your emotions or pretending difficulties don't exist, but by developing a resilient mindset that can weather any storm. The dichotomy of control. The heart of mental resilience lies a fundamental Stoic principle: understanding what we can and cannot control. This seems simple, but it's revolutionary when truly internalized. The Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius, who ruled during times of plague and war, wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that for a moment. How much mental energy do you spend worrying about things entirely outside your control? The weather, other people's opinions, past mistakes, global events, traffic. When we fixate on these uncontrollables, we drain our mental resources without changing outcomes. Instead, the Stoics teach us to focus intensely on what we can control: our judgments, our actions, our responses. This shift isn't just philosophical, it's neurological. When we redirect our attention to areas where we have agency, we activate different neural pathways, reducing stress and increasing our sense of empowerment. Let me give you a personal example. Last year, I was working on a major project when suddenly half my team was reassigned to another department. The deadline remained unchanged. Initially, I felt overwhelmed and angry about the circumstances, things I couldn't control. But then I took a step back and asked, what can I control here? My approach, my communication, my priorities, my attitude. By focusing exclusively on these elements, not only did we complete the project on time, but the challenge actually became an opportunity to develop new skills and demonstrate leadership. The circumstance hadn't changed, but my relationship to it had transformed completely. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your freedom lies not in controlling external events, but in mastering your responses to them. The practice of negative visualization. Now let's explore another powerful Stoic technique for building mental resilience. Negative visualization, or what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Don't worry, this isn't about pessimism or expecting the worst. Rather, it's about mentally rehearsing challenges so they lose their power to destabilize you. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher and statesman, advised, "He who has prepared himself for the coming conflict, being forewarned, stands ready to receive even fortune's toughest blows." Here's how you can practice this. Take a few minutes each day to imagine potential difficulties you might face. Your computer crashing before a deadline, a presentation not going as planned, an argument with a loved one, a rejection letter. By mentally rehearsing these scenarios, you accomplish two things. First, you reduce the shock when difficulties do arise, as they inevitably will. Second, you give yourself the opportunity to prepare thoughtful responses rather than defaulting to knee-jerk reactions. I found this practice particularly helpful before important meetings or events. By mentally walking through potential challenges, I enter situations with greater equanimity. When something unexpected happens, I can often think, "I've considered something like this before," which immediately reduces anxiety. This practice also generates profound gratitude. After imagining losing something valuable, your health, a relationship, a job, you naturally appreciate it more deeply. As Epictetus noted, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has, but rejoices for those which he has." The art of reframing. The next Stoic principle we'll explore is the art of reframing, the ability to interpret events in ways that serve rather than harm us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." This isn't wishful thinking or denial. It's recognizing that our interpretations of events, not the events themselves, determine their impact on us. Consider this. You apply for a job and don't get it. One interpretation says, "I'm a failure. I'll never succeed." Another says, "This position wasn't the right fit. This rejection is redirecting me toward better opportunities." Both interpretations acknowledge the same reality. You didn't get the job, but they create radically different emotional states and behaviors. The first interpretation leads to despair and inaction. The second leads to hope and continued effort. The Stoics understood that our interpretations are choices, even when they feel automatic. As Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." Training your mind to reframe challenges takes practice. Start by noticing your default interpretations, especially during difficulties. Then consciously generate alternative perspectives. Ask yourself, how might this apparent obstacle actually benefit me? What strength might this challenge help me develop? What new door might this closed one reveal? I remember when I tore my ACL a few years ago. Initially, I saw it only as a devastating setback, but gradually, I reframed it. This injury was giving me time to read, write, and develop projects I'd neglected. It was teaching me patience. It was revealing the depth of my support network. That reframing didn't heal my knee faster, but it transformed my experience of recovery from one of frustration to one of growth. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." By consciously choosing empowering interpretations, we reduce unnecessary suffering and discover opportunities within obstacles. Voluntary discomfort. Now let's discuss a Stoic practice that may seem counterintuitive at first. Voluntary discomfort. The ancient Stoics regularly embraced uncomfortable situations, not out of masochism, but to build resilience and freedom from dependency. Seneca, despite being one of Rome's wealthiest men, regularly practiced periods of voluntary poverty, eating simply, wearing basic clothes, and sleeping on a hard mat. Why? He explained, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" This practice trains your mind to distinguish between genuine hardships and mere inconveniences. It teaches you that your well-being doesn't depend on comfort or luxury. It expands your capacity to thrive under various conditions. You don't need to sleep on the floor to benefit from this practice. Start small. Take cold showers, fast for a day, walk instead of drive, delete social media from your phone for a week, exercise to the point of real exertion. Each voluntary discomfort builds your confidence in your ability to endure. You prove to yourself that your happiness doesn't depend on ideal conditions, an incredibly liberating realization. I began practicing this by occasionally fasting for 24 hours. The first time was challenging, but with each fast, I discovered something remarkable. Hunger, like other discomforts, comes in waves. It rises, peaks, and passes. This lesson extends to emotional discomforts as well. Anxiety, disappointment, frustration. They too are transient when we don't fight or feed them. Epictetus, who experienced extreme hardship as a slave, taught, "Difficulty shows what men are. Therefore, when a difficulty falls upon you, remember that God, like a trainer of wrestlers, has matched you with a rough young man. For what purpose, you may say? Why, that you may become an Olympic conqueror, but it is not accomplished without sweat." By intentionally practicing discomfort, you're training for life's inevitable challenges. When they arise, rather than thinking, "I can't handle this," you'll know from experience, "I've been uncomfortable before. I can navigate this too." The power of present moment. Awareness. Another critical aspect of mental training is developing present moment awareness. The Stoics recognized that much of our suffering comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, rather than engaging fully with the present. Marcus Aurelius advised himself, "Do not disturb yourself by thinking of your whole life. Do not let your thoughts at once embrace all the various troubles that you may expect to befall you. But on every occasion ask yourself, what is there in this that is intolerable and past bearing? For you will be ashamed to confess." This is remarkably similar to modern mindfulness practices, which have been scientifically proven to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression while improving focus and emotional regulation. To train present moment awareness, begin by setting aside a few minutes daily to focus solely on your breathing or physical sensations. When your mind wanders, as it inevitably will, gently redirect your attention back to the present. This simple practice strengthens your ability to choose where your attention goes, rather than being pulled constantly by distractions, worries, and ruminations. Present moment awareness doesn't mean ignoring the future or never planning ahead. Rather, it means engaging fully with whatever you're doing. When planning, plan completely. When resting, rest completely. When listening to someone, listen completely. I found that regularly asking myself, "Where am I right now?" helps break the trance of rumination. Often I'll notice I'm physically in a peaceful room while mentally trapped in an imaginary argument or future scenario. This awareness itself creates space to return to the present. Seneca observed, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient." The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. By training your mind to engage fully with the present, you access a deeper well-being that doesn't depend on circumstances being perfect. You discover that this moment, the only one you ever truly have, contains enough when embraced completely. The practice of self-reflection. To truly train your mind for resilience, regular self-reflection is essential. The Stoics were pioneers of this practice. Seneca wrote, "I will keep constant watch over myself and, most usefully, will put each and day up for review." Each evening, Marcus Aurelius asked himself, What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? How can I improve tomorrow? This wasn't self-flagellation, but honest assessment aimed at growth. Modern research confirms the power of this practice. Regular reflection strengthens neural pathways associated with learning and improvement. It helps us recognize patterns in our thoughts and behaviors, allowing us to intervene in unhelpful cycles before they gain momentum. Try implementing a simple evening reflection ritual. Ask yourself, what went well today? What challenged me? How did I respond to difficulties? What virtues did I embody? Where did I fall short of my potential? What will I do differently tomorrow? Write your reflections down, even briefly. The act of articulating thoughts on paper brings clarity and commitment that mental reflection alone rarely achieves. I've maintained a reflection journal for years, and it's become my most valuable tool for growth. Often I notice patterns I would have missed otherwise. Triggers for impatience, circumstances that boost my focus, thought spirals that precede anxiety. This awareness itself is transformative. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Don't wish to be thought to know anything, and even if you appear to be somebody important to others, distrust yourself. This humble self-examination is the foundation of true wisdom and growth. Building a philosophy of life. Each principle we've discussed contributes to something greater, developing your personal philosophy of life. The Stoics believed that without a coherent philosophy, a set of values and principles to guide decisions, we become reactive, inconsistent, and easily swayed by circumstances. Seneca wrote, "Let all your efforts be directed to something. Let it keep that end in view." It's not activity that disturbs people, but false conceptions of things that drive them mad. Your philosophy needn't be complex. Start by identifying your core values. What matters most to you? Integrity, growth, compassion, courage, wisdom. Then ask how these values translate into daily choices and responses to challenges. For me, 1. Core value is growth, both personal and contributing to others' growth. This gives meaning to difficulties. They become opportunities to develop wisdom I can later share. Another value is presence, being fully engaged with people and experiences. This guides how I spend my time and attention daily. Having clear values creates a framework for decisions. When facing a challenge, you can ask, what response aligns with my values? This clarity reduces decision fatigue and builds inner coherence. As Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This inside-out approach, starting with who you want to be rather than external conditions, is transformative. The role of community. While much of mental training involves internal work, the Stoics recognized the vital importance of community. Seneca wrote extensively to friends, offering encouragement and guidance. Marcus Aurelius began his journal by acknowledging those who had shaped his character. We are social beings, and our mental resilience is strengthened or weakened by our connections. Surround yourself with people who support your growth, who embody qualities you admire, who challenge you thoughtfully. Create what the Greeks called a sympatheia, a harmony of purpose with others working toward similar aims. Share your journey. Be vulnerable about your struggles. Celebrate progress together. When I began practicing these Stoic principles, finding others on a similar path accelerated my growth tremendously. Sometimes a simple conversation can provide the perspective shift you've been seeking for months. As Seneca advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. The process is a mutual one. Men learn as they teach. Embracing impermanence will conclude with perhaps the most profound Stoic teaching. embracing the impermanence of all things. The Stoics regularly contemplated mortality, not to become morbid, but to live more fully and appreciate what they had. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This memento mori, remember you will die, practice cuts through trivial concerns and clarifies what truly matters. Similarly, recognizing the impermanence of difficulties puts them in perspective. As Marcus wrote, "Time is a sort of river of passing events, and strong is its current. No sooner is a thing brought to sight than it is swept by, and another takes its place, and this too will be swept away." No matter how intense your current challenge, it will pass. This too shall change. Weather it with the dignity of one who understands the transient nature of all experiences. I found that regularly reflecting on impermanence doesn't diminish joy, but deepens it. Knowing that nothing lasts forever, neither pleasures nor pains, infuses ordinary moments with significance. A conversation with a friend, the warmth of sunshine, the taste of good food. Even difficulties become meaningful parts of a finite human journey. As Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time, living the practice." As we conclude, remember that training your mind isn't about reaching some perfect state where difficulties no longer affect you. It's about developing a capacity to respond to life, all of it, with wisdom, courage, and equanimity. The practices we've explored, focusing on what you can control, visualizing challenges, reframing difficulties, embracing discomfort, cultivating present moment awareness, engaging in self-reflection, clarifying your values, building community, and embracing impermanence, aren't separate techniques, but aspects of an integrated approach to living. Start small. Choose one practice that resonates with you. Implement it consistently for a month. Notice how it affects your responses to daily challenges. Then add another practice. Gradually, you'll build a mental resilience that can weather any storm. As Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. True mental strength isn't about controlling everything in your life. It's about responding wisely to whatever arises. It's about finding freedom not in perfect circumstances, but in your relationship to circumstances. I want to thank you for staying with me throughout this exploration. The journey of training your mind is lifelong, with endless depth and nuance. But the principles we've discussed today provide a foundation that will serve you through any challenge. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Now, go forth and practice. Your mind, your most powerful tool, is waiting to be trained. And once trained, there is truly nothing you cannot overcome. If you found value in these timeless principles, please share this video with someone who might benefit. Leave a comment sharing which practice resonates most with you, or how you've applied Stoic principles in your own life, and subscribe for more content on developing mental resilience and practical wisdom. Until next time, remember that the quality of your life depends far less on what happens to you than on how your mind interprets and responds to what happens. Train your mind, and you truly can overcome anything.